Welcome to Q2, everyone. It's a very exciting day for our club to announce our new Chief Soccer Officer and Sporting Director, Khaled El-Ahmad. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Andy and I, Andy and I stepped back at the beginning of this process, and we're very thoughtful about what this club needs in its next leader. We then were deliberate in going through a process over the summer that's led us to this day. So again, it's great to have you. As a club, we have a burning ambition here to deliver top results to our fans and to our city, year in and year out. And we want to compete at the highest level in all of our competitions. And Khaled has a plan that we think can help us achieve those goals. So again, welcome. I also want to welcome his beautiful family and daughters here. Vinik, welcome. Vinik, welcome. So I'm now going to turn it over to our CEO, Andy, who's going to kind of walk through in more detail about the process of how we've got here today, and then we'll have Khaled speak. So, Andy?
Thank you. Before we begin, just give me a second here. Before we begin, I do want to say for the last several months, we have had an incredible group of people helping lead our sporting department. We've had Davey, of course, who's not here. He's in training. But Davey has been both interim head coach and interim chief soccer officer and has done a phenomenal job. In addition, he's had some resources. He had some help from Andrew DeLallo, Ethan Finley, Dean Kostelis, and others who have helped us get to this point. And I just want to say thank you very much to that group of people for helping lead the soccer operations group through this period. And it has been important to us, in particular, over the last few months, to see the collaborative nature of that group. And the ideal outcome, in my view, is that everything is sort of a collaborative decision before it goes to ownership for consideration. And I think that's a very important outcome. And that leads us to today, because one of the things that we wanted to identify as part of our leadership was somebody who understood the importance of collaboration, somebody whose leadership style emphasized that. And in addition to that important philosophical point, we also wanted to make certain that our sporting director had a degree, if not expertise, in MLS, the MLS transactional model, somebody who had international experience, international relationships, somebody who understood player identification, recruitment, roster construction, somebody who had a very forward-thinking approach to the use of data and analytics, and somebody who, quite frankly, has led a sporting department, a large group of people. And again, as I emphasized, somebody who, from a leadership perspective, understood culture and the importance that collaboration plays within culture. And so with that, it led us to identify Khaled as our top choice, and I am incredibly honored to welcome you to Austin FC, so welcome. Thank you so much.
A lot of mics here. It's a lot of compliments thrown at me very quickly. First and foremost, super excited to have the opportunity to wear green and be part of this club, the community. Super excited that I have my beautiful wife and two girls here, so thank you as always for your support. For me, the most important thing, and both Anthony and Andy have touched on it, is come to a place where I believe there's potential. Your history is brief but really exciting. You've had ups and downs. Over the last days that I've had the opportunity to come here and try to remember 1,000 names, I'm super impressed with the people, the welcome we've received, and it just, I just want to get going. I'm quite excited to keep meeting everyone and really aligning the club from top to bottom to make sure we achieve great things. And I've said this from day one, from when we first spoke. For me, there's only one thing, and that is Austin FC. There is no first team, there's no second team, there's no academy, there's no business, there's no sports. We're all one club, one color, one tree. And I hope during my tenure, everyone gets to feel that, because I think that's my main responsibility, is to get everyone to push in the right direction. When we do that, winning will come. I'm a big believer that if we all do our part every day look for the marginal gains, we will be here one day with a big trophy. So yeah, super excited. Thank you both. Thank you for all the employees, not just for what you've done in this interim period, but essentially from day one when you came to Austin. So thank you for having me.
Thank you to everyone up on the stage for the opening remarks. We'll go now to questions from the media, and we'll ask everyone to limit themselves to 2 questions per person so that we can get to everyone in the crowded room. Colby, I saw your hand first up, so we can go ahead and start with you.
This is a lateral move. What was the draw to come here?
Every club in itself is a great, kind of potential. And I had a good time in Minnesota, super excited and proud of what we built. I'm coming now to an organization that I think has potential, really exciting city, great ownership, and also has the ability, I like building. And I do think coming here, I get to be part of building something over the coming years. For me, there is no move up, down, or lateral. I think it's just the move, and each club is its own organism, and I'm super excited to be here.
Sure, and this club has a pretty terrible track record with designated players. Just how important is it to hit on designated players?
You're going to get to hear this from me a lot. Every player on the squad is important. Torres is an academy player, not a DP, and his performance is of high level. And the way we're going to approach the squad is the same. We're going to approach the culture. Every player is important. Of course, making sure the high-earning players produce, but I think it's important that we create a culture where every player produces.
Moises?
Thank you for your questions.
Khaled, last year, Minnesota lost a U.S. Open Cup semifinal to the club that you're sitting with right now. Thinking back to that game where Austin fans took the giveaway shirts and defaced them from saying "cuz maybe" to saying "cuz Fodre." How do you feel about the pipeline that you have in terms of players here? You mentioned Irvin Torres, a second team that is cruising toward potential setting an MLS Next Pro point record for the season, but for which Minnesota United too has been a bit of a nemesis this year. Tell us a bit about the player pathway and how you see that affecting success at Austin.
Yeah, so I think for me, the player pathway is extremely important. It starts with the belief that you give to the community that, hey, here in Austin FC, I can become a professional player, and maybe, you also can achieve big dreams in terms of playing for the national team or moving on to even the biggest stage in the world. I said it earlier, there is no first team, second team academy. Every player will be evaluated, kind of branded in the green color. We want to see young players. We will do a thorough analysis all the way from top to bottom. We had one of our first meetings yesterday where I essentially went to Ethan and Dean and I said, okay, before even talking about in and out, what do you have internally? And the club has actually been pretty good at that. You have CJ Fowdry, you also have Torres, you had Owen Wolf. I think you do a pretty good job. We just need to kind of create even more alignment and belief into the system. But very important, great question.
And then you've got a situation where you're kind of hitting the ground running. You've got a few player deals that are expiring in December. How are you prioritizing what you're looking at in terms of moves that you need to make, actions that you need to take now that you're here? And I guess if you could expand a bit more on how you see Ethan and Dean and Andrew Davey as resources for getting that business done as quickly as you can.
Yes, I think we have to look at it in, okay, there's a task group looking at can something be done before this window shuts, both in and out. I think in general it's important that if it's something that can make Austin better, not just in this window, but long term, we should be able to move. But it's important we're also strong enough and disciplined enough to make the right decision and not get panicked to bring somebody in just to bring somebody in. Really excited, as I said, about the people here. We've already had, the ability to just kind of get updated in terms of the moves that will be happening moving forward. The analysis will be ongoing, and I'll listen, bring in, opinions, feedbacks. We will use data. We'll look at the physical, the contract. There's so many attributes that need to fall in place, and that work starts soon. Good question.
I'll chime in real quick here. Andy and I had a focus on more breadth and depth, more collaboration, a flatter leadership structure on the soccer side. And that's been in place. We've been building up the breadth and depth of the summer. And our interim team has been working really hard on some moves in this transfer window that are not necessarily have Khaled's fingerprints on them. So there's a couple moves coming. We won't talk about them today, but there's been a lot of work done over the summer, and he's just getting here. And so just keep that in mind.
Thanks, Moises. We'll go to Phil, and then Phil, after your two, if you wouldn't mind passing to Jim right across the aisle.
Khaled, welcome to Austin.
Thank you.
One thing I was wondering about is Andy had mentioned data and analytics being very important in terms of player identification and roster building. So wondering if you could just speak to that a little bit in terms of how you utilize that and how you plan to integrate that here.
Yeah, so in general, I look at data as part of the decision-making process. It's not data versus no data. What's the most important is that we make the right decision. And so data is part of that process to get to the right decision. We are gonna use and utilize the various, physical data, on-ball data, defensive data, that will guide us into getting the best possible decision. But it's not just data and we sign a player because of that. It all has to, come together. But I look at it from all perspective, injury records, how are we using data in terms of measuring the player loads. And I don't want data just to be a word. What it is, it's part of the decision-making process. The most important thing is that we make the right decisions.
And then obviously we'll be looking to you for inbound and outbound moves window to window. So let me put you on the spot a little bit here. We have reports of 2 outbound moves for Jaden Nelson and CJ Fodry. So wondering if you can confirm indeed if they have exited and where their destinations are, and then if there are maybe expectations of any inbound moves this window.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. I think like Anthony said, in the sense, this is my first official day in that sense, so I like the question. Means you're curious and interested in what the club does. Keep up that good job. But I think the club will have a policy that when a deal is done, it will first and foremost be presented on official club channels. But thank you.
Jim Vertuno with the Associated Press. First question for Andy. You talked about in your opening remarks, the club wanted somebody with MLS experience. Given where the club was before with the previous role, can you just talk about what was the priority there? What does that experience within the unique structure of MLS bring to this job? Why was that a priority for you?
First of all, it became a priority simply because the MLS mechanisms are rather sophisticated, and the ability to have complete command is very different than the ability to perhaps get up to speed one day and have that ultimate command. So to begin with, that command is a very important attribute that we weighted heavily. But I will say that Khaled in totality met all of the criterion that we set out ahead of that process. And so when we started our search, we had those criterion in mind, but he fortunately happened to check all of the boxes.
Okay.
I'll add on just real quick. We did focus on MLS experience with our head coach Jim Curtin and in Khaled. Khaled also has experience abroad, which is a bonus. But I think we did have place an emphasis on that in this new leadership hire cycle.
Great. And for Khaled, you are inheriting a situation where a new coach is going to come in a few months from now, not with the team now, but I think you've got some experience with him. Can you just talk about that unique situation of where it's not a coach you're hiring, it's not a situation where you're running the hiring on that, you're going to inherit that. Yeah. But can you just speak to what that environment's going to be like and what your expectation is?
Yeah, of course. First and foremost, that's quite normal in football, so I don't see it necessarily as a situation. So it's not there's no negative underlying thing. When it comes specifically to Jim, and I'm not sure he was going to want me to put this on record, but my memory with Jim, he does not remember this, is I nutmegged him in 2001. Other than that, I am really looking forward to meet with Jim, get to know him. I was obviously part of the NYCFC structure from 2016 to 2021, and Philly was always extremely difficult to play against, organized, and I can already see from the offset that our values and kind of the principles are going to align. And I'm excited. I mean, it's a person that I respect, that the league respects, and maybe he gets a chance to not make me bag on a staff one-on-one.
Good morning. Welcome to Austin. And you know, this team has a really deep Hispanic roots, right? What is your plan for get more players from South America or Latin America? And what do you know about the Hispanic player of Austin FC?
Okay. Primero vez me gusta la cultura española. Yo practico español todos los días. My streak in Duolingo is 2,400 days in a row. Okay, so para todos la gente me gusta practicar español, so por favor, ayúdame. When it comes to the Latin community as a whole, super passionate, super excited. I've obviously been in your stadium, super excited about that. The one thing about players, we look at players everywhere around the world. It's not just about one community, one type of player. It's where can we find the best player that wants to be here and that also fits in our culture. But yeah, I mean, we all like Latin players, I think, and with the history with Durusi and you have Torres and exciting, and it's a beautiful part of the world that I traveled to many times.
Okay, let's start to practice.
See?
¿Qué piensas y cuál es el mensaje a los fanáticos, to the fans?
Okay.
Your message.
Sí, sí. I understood, thank you. You put me on the spot, I was like, whoa. The message is to build on the history. This is not a reset, this is an evolution. The goal is not for this to be a City Football Group 2.0 or a Philly 2.0 or a Minnesota 2.0. This is how can we together, along with the fans, get the uniqueness of this community, the fans, the ownership, the colleagues to create Austin FC as we move forward. We should all dream big. I don't talk about winning because we're all in this to win. And that pressure is something that all excites us. When the fans see me, please come forward and say hello. And I look forward to moving forward with them. And thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome to Austin.
Thank you.
Landon Cotton, Moon Tower Soccer. Different front offices have different dynamics with how they work together. How do you see your role versus Jim Curtin's role when he comes in, and right now Davey Arnaud? What will the dynamic be there, and what do you see as the division of responsibilities between the two of you?
Yes, I think, and for Andy and then Anthony to attest, it's a collaborative model, but ultimately the final decision sits with me. But if you have a good culture, there is no one-man decision. You come to a decision as a group. There should be tension because tension is good. That's what creates growth, in my opinion. I'm looking forward to both learn from Jim and Davey and Andrew and Ethan and Dean and everyone else to push this club forward. And we're going to have collaborative conversations. I'm kind of quite excited about that. I don't necessarily think we should all be aligned all the time. It's that the various experiences that I think are going to make us very successful and powerful. As long as, for me, fundamentally, like, are you surrounded by good people? And if that's yes, everything else will fall in place. And if I may, that's a beautiful beard you have.
Thank you. And then I know that we've heard that there are stipulations with Jim Curtin's current contract with Philadelphia, that he's limited on how much access he can actually have and input he can have. Are you allowed to speak with Jim Curtin at this point? What does that look like?
Take that one. No, just because, I mean, Davey's our interim manager through the end of the year, and now Khaled will be our chief soccer officer. And we don't really work with Jim until December. So.
Anyone else that has not had a chance to ask a question yet? We can come back to Colby.
So it's just for either three of you. Like, we're under the impression from the Danny Pereira trade, you have money to spend before the summer transfer window. I mean, is that a use it or lose it situation here? I mean, so do we expect a move coming up within the next week, 10 days?
I'm happy to take that. I go back to the fact that if there's a move to make that makes Austin better, we will address it and think about it. If not, what's important is to stay disciplined, use that, allocation of funds to create flexibility for the coming transfer windows. I think what's important is not end up making a costly mistake that the club then has to carry for a long time, because that will limit our ability to continue to improve, which will be the goal, to do so window by window by window.
General allocation money doesn't expire, so we're building resources for the next few windows.
Okay. And then what did you learn from your experiences in Minnesota?
When good people pull together, regardless of resources, you can be successful. And I think we built a good culture in Minnesota. We were successful, and I go back to good people. And I'm happy to now be here with my first impression is of very good people. So thank you.
All right, Jeremiah Bentley, also Moon Tower Soccer, lesser beard though. It's my curse. You come from a club that has sort of taken a different approach to spending, for players. How does that change your job when you have an ownership group that appears to not be afraid to open up the pocketbook?
So for me, it's not about how little or how much you have. It goes back to making sure you make the right decision and are disciplined with the funds. I always make a comparison. You can look at Man United, Chelsea, a lot of spending, but the results don't come. And then you look at Brighton, Brentford, or Man City, results do come. So the ambition is great. Again, each club have their own vision, own DNA of who they want to be. What we're gonna do here is make sure that the funds we get are used as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, just wanted to get a little bit more of a sense about MLS Next Pro and kind of where you see that in the player development pipeline. You talked about one club, one tree, but obviously having come from a team that has this, like Moses was saying, this kind of robust relationship now between that second team and the second team, just kind of wondering, and obviously Alice Stue and his development and Irvin Torres and his development, just where do you see that falling in line?
I really think it's extremely important. And I don't want to refer to past clubs, because then you're going to hear me say Minnesota, Barnsley. Like, Austin already has a track record of giving young players a chance. That will be even further aligned. The coming head coach has worked in an environment that develop players. I think Davey's done a great job. The club, in the sense, has done a great job. It is important. We want young players to develop and be produced. So what I can tell you is we see the entire pathway as something extremely important. And I don't know how clear I can continue to be over my tenure here. It's one club, so every player is important throughout what we do. Thank you. It's a good question.
And in the brief time this morning that we had to prep for this complete mystery announcement, I went over some of your previous comments about various things, and one of the things I found most impressive about this kind of one club philosophy that you have is that not only are you an avid fan of Football Manager, but you seem to espouse the notion that there isn't going to just be one player, one coach, one move, one action that is going to define a club, even one season. You have an extremely long view of things. And I wonder if you can give us an idea of how you plan to contextualize the moves and changes and progressive stuff that you plan on doing. And I guess to Anthony and Andy, if you could tell us a bit about how you've seen Khaled's philosophy play into why this was the choice at this time.
Maybe they get to go first, and then I'll answer my part.
He is extraordinarily pragmatic, and I don't know if that directly answers your question, but that is one of the things that stands out as part of our search process, and to me, that is an important characteristic.
I haven't met someone as thorough as him in terms of like his plan and planning his. I mean, he's just thought of every aspect. So I was impressed from day one about how we're going to play, what type of culture are we going to have, what type of people are we going to have, how are we going to spend, how are we going to embrace analytics. So he's very, very prepared for this move to Austin, and I'm very confident about what he can do.
Just to answer, I think I need to invite you to dinner to tell you all that. I think what the important part for me in that sense is I know what I want. I think the people already at the club, the incoming head coach, we will quite quickly align. And even though I take a long-term view at things, which is what you should be doing, don't mistake from not wanting to win now. So it's always the balance between the short term versus the long term. MLS is more unique compared to Europe, where you can kind of carry certain mistakes. MLS doesn't really allow you to do that. Like, it is costly, and you can't get out of it as easily. But I'm happy, and I already told Cam, so you can keep me accountable for it. We will have off the record lunch, and we can dive a little bit more into those details.
And I guess just on the intangible side of things, one of the things that I found interesting is seeing the kinds of things that you can't anticipate that you faced at Barnsley, things that you faced in Minnesota. How do you keep yourself agile when it comes to expecting the unexpected? Whether it's, I mean, you know that players are going to be dealing with juggling family and all kinds of variables. You've got staff members, you've got people who are related in the community. You've got so many different things connected as a former CEO yourself. How do you keep yourself agile in that sense and still be a family guy and have time to be there at home?
I think a lot of credit goes to my beautiful family here. They are just super supportive. Part of my culture, I'm a war refugee, so things I've seen and experienced in my life, I ultimately don't get fazed by a lot. And I've also learned that if you're surrounded with good people, just stay calm and just take the right decision, and over time that will come together. Other than that, I work out and I eat donuts.
Just given the club's standing right now, what should the priority be this season, the playoffs, the Leagues Cup, or next year?
Regardless of standings, my ultimate belief is the next game is the most important game. So right now, tomorrow's game is the most important. I think it's a 7-point difference to make playoffs, but that should be in the focus. Focus is win tomorrow. Once that's done, the group to regen and get ready to win the next one. And I think that is extremely important. That should be the idea when you're at the top, because this club has been at the top at once. And so always remember, next game, next training, next game, next training. And it sounds boring, but in sports, like, that is the main task, is the next training, the next decision, the next game. And then you just keep plugging along.
I would just really quickly ask Andy and Anthony, everybody aligned on that?
I'll start this. We want to compete in all competitions. We've made it to Champions League. We've made it to the U.S. Open Cup final. We're in the quarterfinals of Leagues Cup tomorrow. We want to compete in all tournaments, and we've made it to the MLS Cup playoffs only twice. But our goal should be every year. That's the plan with Khaled. So we are going to push to have greater success on the field. That's hugely important. I mean, that's why we're here. And Khaled and Jim, I think, can lead us to towards those expectations.
Yeah, I think, Jim, in simple terms, as a professional sports property, we don't have the right to say games don't count. Supporters know the matches count. Our partners know the matches count. Everybody knows, our players, our staff knows the matches count. So every match counts.
Hey, Anthony, what have you learned from the last 3 years, just in running a club? I mean, it's obviously you want to win. You spend a lot of money. That money hasn't come to fruition the last 3-4 years sometimes. What have you learned just going through the processes of hiring coaches, hiring sporting directors?
Well, first of all, we have a great ownership group, so it's not just Agatha and I and our family. We have a number of great families that are supporting this club. But as a majority owner, you learn something new every day. And we've made some mistakes, and we are a club that believes in continuous improvement, and we try to not make the same mistakes twice. We're getting there. I really, truly believe that we have a base that we're building on, and I feel extremely confident that what we've been doing over the last few months is going to take this club to the next level. There's a lot of momentum inside the clubhouse. There's new energy. I think we need to learn how to spend a little bit more efficiently, optimize the roster a little bit better than we have. You're right, we haven't always been successful with DPs, but at the same time, we've had some good ones. Teresi was a fantastic signing. Azuni's coming on. Vasquez before the injury was really going to be a big contributor, and Fagundo's getting really settled here and is making his mark on set pieces and assists. So, we have good pieces in place, and I think we'll be better at spend. I think we're building an in-house analytics model that will help us, I think, be a little bit better. And we're going to rebuild scouting and recruitment with Khaled and the rest of our team. And that's an area we definitely have to get better at if we're going to get to the places we want to be.
On that note, to both Anthony and Andy, one of the things that I listened to a recent Bloomberg interview with an analytics professional who's apparently been doing work for the club in terms of getting better data, in terms of making the analytics, deeper and more effective. How much do you see that playing a role in the changes that have already been being worked on, as well as what you're setting Khaled up to have success with?
It's still early, but Andy, you take this one.
Yeah, I can take this. Bill James wrote his baseball almanac in 1977, and Moneyball came out in 2003, the book. Most people know the movie a couple of years later. Analytics has been around for a while, so I don't want to create the illusion that we haven't been utilizing analytics within our organization. But we have made a significant investment in recent months to introduce new resources, and part of that is Matt Holsizer and Jenny Just and Peak Six and their prowess inside of analytics. But we've brought on people into the club, Dean, Jim starting in December, all of whom subscribe to a forward analytics approach. So it's the investment in tools, it's the investment in people.
And on the note of Anthony saying you learn something new every day, knowing the new sporting director, chief soccer officer is a big fan of donuts, are we expecting a pending Round Rock Donuts collaboration, partnership, something like that?
So wait, is Round Rock a good place to go get donuts?
Round Rock Donuts is a legendary local institution.
All right,
they didn't pay me to
that
say this.
address.
They probably should
Fries
have.
versus donuts, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right, we can wrap it there. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you to everybody on stage. For the media folks in the room, give us a moment to clear this table, and then we'll have a quick on-stage photo op.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.